what can a neighborhood community do which could potentially create a better environment? And then second, what can schools do?
I think that teachers and counselors and the principals need to be more aware of what's going on and not turn a blind eye to it. If a teacher or a
Mm,
counselor, if young Nathan goes up to the teacher and says, again, Irshad is bullying me, or Irshad's doing this to me, or they're calling me names, or they keep hitting me or punching me or tripping me over, that teacher needs to take action. That counselor, that principal needs to take action. They need to call the children in and say, listen, you can't do this. You need to stop. Whatever the situation is, punish that child, whether it's whatever it is. And then they need to, again, from there, call the parents and let the parents know, so that the parents are aware of what's going on, so that they can become more accountable and they can possibly maybe change their home environment, because who knows what these young kids are going through. They may be being bullied. They may be being
yes.
abused at home, so that they're acting out their anger on these other kids. And I think when it comes to the neighborhood and where we live, our home environment, I think we need to be more aware of our neighbors, of who we are and the people who live next door to us. And if they're good people, we need to know that they're good people and that we can trust them. We can go to them. We can run next door and say, my dad is hurting me, or my mum is hurting me, or this is happening to me at
Mm,
school, or the person across the road there hurt me, or whatever the situation is. We need to have safe houses, or safe places, environments within our
yes.
neighborhood, whether it's, if it can't be our own because of the situation at home, we need to know that we can go to the person next, or the person down the street, or someone within our neighborhood that is going to help us, is going to believe us, is going to keep us safe. And then call the authorities, call the police, call the parents, call whatever the situation is,
Yes.
call the school. So I think we just need to have safe houses and safe. And I know it's hard because you just don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So again, I think it all comes down to just being aware of who we are, being aware of who our neighbors are and our friends and our family, and then having that responsibility to do right, having that responsibility to help young Irshad or to help young Nathan and say, all right, you are going to be okay. You are safe now. You are going to be believed. Let's call the police. Let's call your parents. Let's call whoever it is we need to call to make sure this doesn't happen again, to make sure that if old man Billy down the road is hurting you, we get him to the police. We get him in trouble. We stop this from happening. So again, we need to come together as a community and start talking about this, start being more aware. Because if we have that one conversation, that one is going to turn into two, into three, into four conversations. If we can
Yeah.
open that one door, we're going to open many doors that we can walk through. We can feel safe. Again, education is key. Education is key, because if we start with that as adults, it's just going to trickle down to our children. If we start with that as adults, we're going to put measures in place to not only keep ourselves
Mm,
safe as adults, but also our children safe. So I think that's where it is.
agreed. Yeah, and I totally agree to what you mentioned, right? And I think there are a few things that come to my mind that I think schools and neighbors or the neighborhood, the locality can do, right? I think with regards to school, a lot of schools, some schools have it, but not a lot of schools have dedicated counselors or teachers that necessarily talk to these individuals, right? These school, the kids. I think it's a very good practice where we could have a dedicated teacher or even a teacher that can at times on a regular basis just checks with individuals kids, right, as to how are things at your end, how are you doing, the thing is everything good at school with you, are you like being proactive, taking proactive measures. I think could also help schools really stay one step ahead, because I know, as you mentioned at the beginning, right, one of the major challenges kids face is they kind of get into a cocoon of not being able to share what's happening because they've been threatened. So they're scared of even opening up. But if schools also kind of have teachers, create teachers or leaders inside it where they can proactively start making kids safer, maybe that's an avenue where kids can then slowly start opening up about, what is happening, what is not happening. Because I know some schools do it, but there are also a lot of schools that don't do it because all teachers are sometimes are concerned about is is teaching what subject they are going to teach to their students, right? So that's additional work that someone has to do. But I think as schools or institutes, having someone that can check kids, teenagers at a young age, getting feedback, being proactive could really be helpful. And a similar kind of a logic can also be applied to our neighborhoods, localities. And I think this is important because this conversation that we started, this is just, as you mentioned, like opening a door for other individuals so that other individuals now who might have gone through the same experience, we take ownership. We try to give back to the society where we say, you know what, this has happened in the past, maybe not with me, maybe with someone else, maybe my loved ones. What can I do? What is in my control to ensure that this does not repeat? No one's telling you to fight the entire battle, but at least we can kind of, the neighborhood community can come together to create like a group or a society where we can talk about these things to begin with, to ensure that, you know what, if something is going wrong in our neighborhood, you can come back. The reason I say this is also because we are seeing a lot of young kids these days going ahead and trying drugs, smack, all of these other things, right? And this is obviously coming in because these kids have traumas and nothing is being properly addressed. And this mostly happens in lower uh, income groups, right? Because they don't have the proper amenities, they don't have people that they can talk to, the teachers that they can guide. So I think as individuals who have communities, I think it's important that all of us come together, create our own groups, communities where we maybe go volunteer and talk to people. Maybe it's just a step in the right direction. And I've noticed this. People once when they start doing this, when they come together, they go to these institutes, colleges, schools, they start enjoying more because there's a lot of studies that indicate, right, when you give back to the community, you actually feel more satisfied and you feel more better.